The movie follows Gink, a high school girl. One morning, her father drove her to school, looking rushed, constantly checking his watch and muttering about being late for an important meeting. But instead of going to class, Gink decided to skip school. She jumped over the school fence and got in her friend Palm's car. That day, Gink and Palm didn't go to school because Gink thought her dad might be cheating on her mom. They followed him and saw that he was heading to the airport instead of his office. Feeling suspicious and with money saved up for emergencies, they bought plane tickets and flew to Chiang Mai, determined to find out the truth. When they arrived, they continued to follow Gink's father. They saw him go into a hotel and enter one of the rooms. Gink sneaked into the room next door, which was being cleaned by the hotel staff. She tried to listen to her dad's conversation through the wall, but Palm was worried and wanted to leave before they got caught. Still, Gink kept listening, hoping to confirm her fears. Finally, they heard the conversation clearly. Gink's dad was indeed having an affair. Palm didn't want Gink to confront her dad, so when she was about to knock on the door, he stopped her. They left the hotel and returned to Bangkok. On the flight back home, Gink broke down in tears, hiding her face under a blanket. She felt deeply betrayed and sad, replaying the events over and over, questioning how everything had gone so wrong. Palm sat beside her, trying to comfort her as best he could. Gink ended up crying in Palm's arms. In that moment, Palm confessed that he loved her. Gink, surprised, asked what kind of love he meant. Palm told her he loved her as a friend. He said it was better that way, so they wouldn't fight or drift apart. Hearing this, Gink cried even harder. Despite her tears, they went back to their daily lives at school and stayed close friends. Not long after, Gink started dating a guy named Lewis. Even though she had a boyfriend, her friendship with Palm stayed strong. They still spent a lot of time together, singing, having dinner, going on trips, and even sharing fun moments like taking a bath together. A few years later, in 2019, they both attended a wedding. Gink sang at the event while Palm stood in the crowd with his friends. His friends asked how his relationship with Gink had evolved from close friends to something more. Palm began telling them about their past, going back to 2017, when Gink had just ended her 8-year relationship with Lewis. During that tough time, Palm was always there for Gink whenever she needed him. He would visit her at home, cheer her up with a song, and make her smile again. Palm even drove her to work at the recording studio, always supporting her in every way he could. One day, while Gink was in a recording studio, a singer suddenly told her that love was just a waste of time. Gink nodded in agreement and promised herself that she would never date anyone again. The next day, while Gink and Palm were riding their bikes, Palm asked if she was serious about giving up on love. Gink replied that she still believed there was a good man out there waiting for her. Palm's face lit up with a big smile when he heard that. In 2018, Gink started dating a new guy, a music producer named Ted. One night, Gink went to a party where both Palm and Ted were guests. Ted was having such a great time that he asked Gink to join him on stage and sing. But as Gink was performing, she lost her balance and fell off the stage. When the ambulance arrived, the paramedic said only one person could ride with Gink. Both Ted and Palm wanted to go, but Gink chose Ted. She told Palm to stay behind and enjoy the party. Even though he felt hurt, Palm watched as Gink left with Ted, trying to hide his disappointment. Later, Palm went on a vacation with his girlfriend to Yangon, Myanmar. Even though they were together, Palm's heart wasn't fully in the relationship because he couldn't stop thinking about Gink, and his feelings for her overshadowed everything else. Then, out of the blue, Gink called him. She sounded upset, saying that she was sick, throwing up, and hadn't had her period yet. She was worried that she might be pregnant, but she was all alone in Kuala Lumpur. Panicking, Palm immediately dropped everything and rushed to Malaysia to be by Gink's side. When he reached her hotel, he gently handed her a pregnancy test and waited outside the bathroom door, his heart pounding with worry. A few moments later, Gink came out and told him the result. It was negative. She wasn't pregnant. Gink then opened up to Palm about what was really troubling her. She was stressed because she thought Ted was cheating on her. Ted was busy working on an album with singers from different countries across Asia. Gink couldn't travel with him because her leg was still in a cast. Her doubts started when she found a receipt from a fancy restaurant. She wondered if Ted had taken one of the singers there for a romantic dinner. Determined to find the truth, Gink and Palm went to that same restaurant. Gink's heart pounded with a mix of anxiety and desperation, her mind racing with thoughts of what she might discover. She needed answers, even if they might break her heart. They tried asking the waiters if they remembered seeing Ted, but no one could say for sure. To lift Gink's mood, Palm decided to have a little fun. He pretended to be Ted, imitating his mannerisms as if he were dining at the restaurant. Gink played along, acting like one of the singers trying to charm Ted. They ended up spending the whole evening laughing and making each other smile, turning a stressful situation into a moment of joy. Later that evening, Palm drove Gink back to her hotel. As they said their goodbyes, Gink told Palm she was planning to go to Cambodia to find Ted. Palm mentioned he would be heading back to work as a flight attendant. Before they parted ways, Gink said how lucky she felt to have a friend like Palm. Palm gave her a hug, but his smile was sad, knowing that his feelings for her went beyond friendship. After that, Gink went to Cambodia and followed Ted to one of his recording sessions with a singer. Later, when they returned to their hotel room, Gink couldn't shake off her suspicions about Ted. While Ted was sleeping, she took the opportunity to search through his suitcase. That's when she found a pack of condoms, with one piece missing, making her fears feel even more real. Meanwhile, at the airport, Palm was getting ready for his next flight when his girlfriend suddenly broke up with him. Feeling down, Palm was about to head off when he unexpectedly spotted Gink there. She explained that she was on her way to Hong Kong to spy on Ted, who she believed might be cheating on her with a singer named Joyce. After a quick conversation, they parted ways again. To Palm's surprise, when he boarded his plane, Gink was also on the flight. So, they ended up going to Hong Kong together. Once they arrived, they decided to have dinner right across from the recording studio where Ted was working. Gink called Ted, who said he'd return to the hotel once he was done. But through the studio window, Gink saw Ted leaving with a woman. Feeling alarmed, she quickly decided to follow him to the hotel. Rushing to the hotel, Gink and Palm arrived before Ted, so they waited in the lobby. While they sat there, Palm gently helped Gink remove the cast from her leg. He teased her, saying she was so obsessed with finding proof of Ted's cheating that it was taking over her life. They waited for hours, and then a taxi pulled up, dropping off a woman in the hotel lobby. Gink, too scared to watch, closed her eyes tightly. But when she peeked, she saw that the woman was with an older man, not Ted. Feeling even more anxious, Gink called Ted repeatedly, but he never answered. Then, Palm handed his phone to Gink and suggested she try calling Ted from his number, thinking Ted might answer a call from an unknown number. Palm's hunch was right. Ted picked up immediately. Hearing Ted's voice, Gink hung up the call and sat there in silence, finally convinced that Ted was hiding something from her. After leaving the hotel, they hopped on a double-decker bus with an open top. Gink was quiet, staring blankly at the sky, lost in her thoughts. Palm tried to lift her spirits, but nothing he said seemed to help. Gink was too hurt, too heartbroken, and couldn't stop replaying the image of Ted with another woman in her mind. As the bus passed by a large billboard, Gink suddenly stood up on her seat, reached up and grabbed onto the billboard. Palm acted quickly, pulling the bus back and grabbing her to bring her down safely. He held her tightly, speaking softly to calm her down. They hugged each other, holding on as if they never wanted to let go. Because of this reckless act, the police ended up arresting both of them. After Gink finally calmed down, Palm had to leave because he had an early flight the next day. But Gink didn't want to be alone, not when she was feeling so heartbroken. So, she decided to join him on his morning flight back to Thailand. Their plane landed in Krabby first, and Gink asked Palm to stay with her a little longer. But Palm had another flight scheduled to Bangkok later that day. Gink stayed in Krabby, while Palm promised her that he'd come back to pick her up after his flight. True to his word, as soon as Palm finished his job, he rushed to catch the flight back to Krabby and went straight to Gink's hotel room. When he arrived, he found Gink looking tired and a bit of a mess, though she still managed to joke that this was how all the women he'd dumped must have looked like. Smiling, Palm grabbed her cosmetic box and gently applied her makeup to make her look fresher. After freshening up, they left the hotel and decided to hike through the nearby forest. As they walked, Gink teased Palm about his playboy ways, telling him to stop switching girlfriends so often. She said she felt sorry for all the women he had left behind. Palm just smiled, letting her words sink in. When they reached the top of the hill, Gink playfully asked for Palm's phone and wanted to know how many girls he had dated. Instead of giving a straight answer, Palm teased her back, saying she sounded jealous. Gink's cheeks turned bright red when she heard that, and she quickly looked away. They continued their journey on a motorbike, riding through the winding paths. Suddenly, a monkey jumped onto the road, startling them both. Palm hit the brakes, and Gink leapt off the motorbike in a panic. She started to run, scared the monkey might chase her. But before she got far, Palm called her to get back on the bike. He thought Gink had already climbed on, but instead, the monkey was sitting behind him. Embarrassed, he quickly turned the bike around to go pick her up. As they continued riding, Gink's stomach suddenly started to hurt, and they had to pull over near a river. She realized she didn't have any tissues with her and looked flustered. Without missing a beat, Palm offered her his socks, but Gink shook her head, refusing. In a funny twist, he took off his shirt and tossed it to her, telling her to use it instead. Gink couldn't help but laugh at his kindness, even in such a silly moment. When they got back on the road, Palm rode the motorbike shirtless, drawing curious looks and laughs from people on the street. Palm didn't care, though. He was too focused on cheering Gink up. They spent the whole day together, ending up at the beach in the afternoon. They listened to a song, but when Gink heard the tune Ted had written for her, she said she hated it. Trying to make her smile, Palm made up new lyrics for the song, turning it into something silly and lighthearted. It worked. Gink finally broke into a smile, and they both laughed together. As they sat there, Palm gently brushed Gink's hair away from her face, and for a moment, their eyes met. It was as if time stopped for them, and everything else faded away. As evening approached, Gink suggested they head back to her hotel room. But before going there, Palm made a quick stop at a convenience store. He stood at the counter, staring at the row of condoms lined up near the cashier. Though he hesitated at first, unsure of what to do, he finally picked one up and bought it, feeling nervous but also hopeful about what might happen next. When they reached the hotel room, Gink had filled the bathtub with beer and invited Palm to join her. They both got into the tub, and Gink gently washed Palm's hair from behind. For a moment, their eyes locked, and it seemed like they might kiss. But Gink couldn't bring herself to go through with it just yet, and Palm understood. He knew that because they had been friends for so long, they needed time to let their feelings grow naturally. But the mood shifted when Gink started questioning why Ted could cheat on other women so easily. This made Palm angry, realizing that he was only a backup for her, someone she turned to when things with Ted weren't right. Feeling hurt and frustrated, he lashed out, and they ended up having a big argument. After a while, they both calmed down and put aside their differences. They made a promise to each other that one day, they'd travel to Europe together to see the Northern Lights. Before they fell asleep, Palm asked Gink to meet him at the temple if she ever decided to break up with Ted. Sometime later, Gink was in Myanmar, supporting Ted while he worked on a new album. Watching Ted laugh and enjoy himself with one of the singers made Gink's anger boil over. She grabbed a microphone and demanded that Ted explain the situation with the woman he was with in Hong Kong. Caught off guard, Ted admitted to his mistakes and apologized to Gink as she turned to leave. Despite everything, Gink decided to forgive him and give him another chance. Keeping her promise to Palm, Gink met him at the temple. She told him that she had decided to give Ted another chance, hoping he'd change. Palm's heart sank when he heard those words. He regretted not being more than just a friend to Gink when they were younger. As he turned to leave, Gink ran after him, telling him that he was the most important man in her life and that maybe their relationship lasted this long because they never tried dating. But Palm was too hurt to listen. Without saying a word, he walked away, and even as Gink called his name through her tears, he never looked back. After that day, they didn't see each other anymore. One day, while shopping at the supermarket with Ted, Gink heard a song that reminded her of Palm. It was the same song they had listened to on the beach, the song that brought back memories of all their adventures, from high school to that crazy moment when she hung on a billboard in Hong Kong. She thought about how Palm was always there for her during the hardest moments of her life, and she realized just how much she missed him. Not long after, Gink saw Palm riding his bike alone. She ran to catch up with him, and when she finally reached him, she told him she had broken up with Ted. Palm's first question was if Ted had cheated again, but Gink said that wasn't the reason. She explained that she had decided to go to Europe with him to see the northern lights, just like they had promised. She told Palm that she no longer wanted to be just friends. She wanted to marry him because she realized she loved him with all her heart. In the final scene of the film, Palm was telling his friends the whole story of his 10-year relationship with Gink. His friends were moved to tears by everything he shared. Then, Palm walked over to Gink, asking her where the ring he had given her was. Gink, feeling panicked, called out for help, and soon everyone at the party was searching for the ring. After a while, Palm finally found it. He slipped the ring back on Gink's finger and proposed to her again, this time with all his love and devotion. So the moral of the story is, if you're going to spy on someone, at least make sure you've got a solid game plan, some emergency snacks, and a buddy willing to take off his shirt to save the day. True love is messy, sometimes literally,